Life. It's full of ups and downs, highs and lows, gains and losses, happiness and sadness, rejoicing and grief. The list is endless. What do you do when you experience these moments? How do you stay afloat when the storms of life surround you? We can only look to one for true joy and hope, Jesus. He is a promise keeper, a way maker, and is the foundation of a life rooted in everlasting hope, joy, peace, love, and so much more. Join us on this journey as we take a deep dive into living the Sonshine Life. Well, welcome everybody to Sonshine Life, the first ever launch. Glad that you are here. Yeah, so grateful to have all of you here. If you don't know me, my name is Josiah, and I'm the current executive director here at Camp Sonshine. And to take a step back to the 1980s, I have this photo that we can all look at. And this is, because Camp Sonshine started in 1981, and here's a photo of my dad, right there in the short shorts, in the early years of Camp Sonshine. So obviously, we've come a long way, both in style and through the years, Camp Sonshine. And I would argue since 1981, that's 40 plus years, a lot has happened. A lot of lives have been changed, camp families, staff that come every summer, parents, lifeguards at pools that we meet. Lives forever changed, right? And we want to talk about that because we have this question that we've been trying to answer, and it's, what makes Camp Sonshine so special? And for many of you, and you could follow along with me if you want. But our mission statement at Camp Sonshine is to create fun memories where children and youth experience God's love. And a few years ago, we kind of wanted to take that further, and we started what was called Saturday Night Light, and that was what this was. And we started a few years ago, and we were in person, and it was a way to build community with our families, to build community with our staff that are in the area, to where we can grow together as we also grow in our relationship with Jesus. And for those of you who didn't know, there was a pandemic, and COVID happened, surprise, surprise, and we went online. And so for some time, we've been online, and over the last 6 months, we as a leadership team have kind of just been praying over, what do we do with this? We can't use COVID as an excuse anymore. Do we just not do this? Do we go in person again? And if we do that, who do we invite? And all these questions that we want to ask, that we're trying to answer. And obviously, we got some answers from God because we're sitting here today. But the answer is yes. And like faith, we don't always know, what tomorrow brings, but we know sometimes still a yes. And so Sonshine Life is a yes from God that I'm excited to start and to do that with all of you. So thank you for being here. And a lot of things in life, there's starts, right? And so I have a question of starting a new week. So how many of you like Mondays? Raise your hand. You don't have to like Mondays, but you still can raise your hand. How many of you feel like, this is more like me? I'm not like, woo, Monday, let's go. It's more of a, oh gosh, I'm dead inside, or let me just get in the fetal position, or maybe it's, this is you every day. Maybe it's not just Mondays, right? I think Mondays are tough. And you can see here's a fun meme to kind of describe how a lot of our world feels about Mondays. As we were praying kind of over the last 6 months, over these questions I mentioned, and honestly, most of 2023, there was a song that really stuck with me. And it was called, or it's still called, Monday Morning Faith. And it's by SU Worship, Southeast University. We have quite a few people that come every summer, camp counselors from there. And they have a worship group at the school. And they have a song, and it's called Monday Morning Faith. And this is a song that, I feel like kept coming up in my mind, not only as we were praying over Sonshine Life, but also just in general. And so for those of you who have Apple Music or Spotify, you'll know that at the end of every year, you get what's called a replay, and you get analytics and logistics and numbers of how many times you listen to certain songs, albums, all that stuff. Personally, I have Apple Music. It's better than Spotify. You can fight me later if you want to. But I got my replay, obviously, for 2023, and I looked at it, and this song and the album, Monday Morning Faith, and their album that song's in, was kind of one of those top albums for me that I listened to. And if it gives you like minutes that you listen to, and sometimes like, oh gosh, how many times did I listen to that song? But so I listened to this song and this album over 100 times, which was around, I think it said like a few thousand minutes, which then worked out to be 24 something hours in the entire year. And so if my math is correct, if my math is mathing, then I listened to this song about, on average, once a day. And that was kind of shocking for me because I was like, oh, wow, I must really like this song. I don't remember listening to it that many times, but I guess I did. And bear in mind, it was still below the greatest hits, Christmas hits by Pentatonics, who are my yearly, annual, like all the year, listen to Christmas music people. Got one, nice. Well, that is me, you're my people. Obviously, that's why we're friends. But there's a song in there, 12 Days of Christmas, highly recommend it. But anyways, Monday Morning Faith, this is a song that really stuck with me. And there's a reason, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But kind of also going off of the idea of, starting things like Sonshine Life. Happy New Year, everyone. We just started 2024. Congratulations, you made it. And in 2024, we have some New Year's resolutions. And this was me in high school when I thought I was all that, and I thought, I'm a great runner and I can run under 7 minutes. And so a few years ago, it's not happening now, but a few years ago, I had a New Year's resolution. And for those of you that know me really well, I tend to come up with unrealistic fitness goals that don't last very long. Maybe you can relate. But for me, I wanted to be like this again. And so I thought, I can run a 7-minute mile. I'm going to run a mile every day. This was a few years ago when I was living with the Woos, and I don't know if you guys do this, but this is a goal I had for myself. And so, I get ready. I put on my shoes, have the right equipment, I guess, and I'm ready to go. And mind you, I barely ran a 7-minute mile even when I was in high school. And, I'm not a runner. I'm slow. But anyways, so I start, and I'm about a minute in, and I'm going. I'm like, yes, first 30 seconds, like, I'm a runner. I'm going to be an Olympian. And, about a minute in, let's just say, I couldn't really breathe, and my leg, I was cramping, my legs, it was bad. And I'm not a quitter. I finished the mile. But let's just say it was nowhere near 7 minutes, and I did a lot more walking than I did running. And a lot of things happened with that goal. As you can guess, it fizzled out pretty quickly, and I stopped doing it. And how I kind of defined that for myself was kind of a mix of, it's not my calling in life. I think I'm not a runner. My dad's a runner. It's just not me. It's not my gift. Maybe my gift is it's dumbbell presses. I think that's what I need to do, right? And so there's lots of things, but at the root of it, it was a lot of things missing. There was a gap of discipline, to do that, because it was like maybe a few times that I gave up. You talk about SMART goals. It wasn't realistic. I missed R in that. But there was other thing. There was faith in myself. I didn't get out and do it again, even though I did not go so well. I did finish that first time, but let's just say the rest of the time I didn't really finish. So I was missing some things. I was missing some faith in myself, some discipline, some other things, really gaps in my life. And there's this story that I heard of this little girl, and she has this apple seed. And she's so excited because she wants to have an apple tree. And so she goes out, outside and digs a little hole, puts the seed in, pats it up, does what she needs to do. And, she goes to bed that night, so excited in anticipation to come out and see a giant tree, lots of apples. And so she wakes up and runs outside, and to her shock and frustration and anger and sadness, there was nothing there. There was no tree. Really no sign of growth at all. There was, she had to go find where it was. There's no sign of growth at all. And her mom began to instruct her, saying, hey, trees take time to grow. They don't grow in a day, but rather they grow daily. And this is a short little story or parable even that I think has a lot of wisdom that we need to take from it. Because I think our faith, our maturity in life, me becoming a marathon runner, it doesn't happen in a day, but rather it happens daily with the steps of faith that we take to where we grow in our maturity. And don't get me wrong, the God that we serve is a miracle worker and can do a lot in 24 hours. But our maturity and our growth in him takes time. And it's like a muscle that we have to work, and it grows daily. Every Monday morning, deciding to get up and go to what you need to do and get done what you need to get done. And so going back to that song, Monday Morning Faith, I have some of the lyrics that it says in the chorus that are both, I think, encouraging and convicting along this topic of faith. And it says, hell is not scared of a Sunday faith if it only leads to empty praise. What really makes darkness run is when the saints arise and praise in quiet. On Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, to know you, to love you, to choose you first. Here we go. Thursday and Friday, Saturday, to see you, behold you, and worship. I don't know about you, but it's tough to do this, right? And there are so many examples in the Bible and of scriptures, stories that teach us what does faith look like and what does it not look like? What does God's faithfulness look like? And I love the prophet Jeremiah and his story and his encouragement during a crazy season. And I have here Lamentations, the verse that'll come up in a second. But the context of when he is saying this is crazy because Israel is going through some stuff. They're under oppressive rule, ungodly leadership. They're in exile. They're going through all these things. They're in a very basically hopeless season. They don't know what to do. And I think I don't know if we can really relate to them in some ways because I don't know if we're under a lot of the stuff that they're under. But I don't know about you, but I feel those seasons in my life sometimes to where I feel hopeless. I don't really know who to turn to. And, Jeremiah has a lot to say in Lamentations to hope, encourage those people. But it's just crazy to even hear him say this. But he says in Lamentations 3, verses 22 through 24, he says, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in him. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I am able on a Monday morning to get up and say, Lord, great is your faithfulness. Your mercies are new today. I look more like the guy in the, in a fetal position going, where am I? What time is it? I need a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. And that's me living normal life. Granted, Jeremiah and all of Israel is going through so much more. And so I think we lose sight of this in our life sometimes. We lose sight of the God that we serve and what he can do. And that even now in this moment, we're all sitting here with breath in our lungs, and that's a miracle. That's a miracle that I think we forget. And I'm so encouraged and convicted by what Jeremiah is saying here that we need to be able to do this. And the thing is, God can help you do that. And in my life, I'm such a visual learner, but there's the way I kind of see this in my own life play out, maybe you can relate to this, is it almost feels like gaps. Like that's where, I feel like I can't do this. And I read this book, and it talks about, or I read most of it, and it talks about, got what I needed from the book. But it talks about there's three kind of gaps that you have in life. And the three are beliefs, values, and times gap. So the first belief gap is really, what you believe to be true versus what's actually true. The other gap, values gap, is what we value most versus what we actually spend our life doing. And then lastly, a time gap, which is what we plan to do every single day versus what we actually get done. And I don't know if as I read those, if one maybe sticks out to you, but for me, ding, 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 the first one that came to mind is a time gap. And for me right now, guys, I have a time gap. I gotta admit, going back to, it's 2024, I have some New Year's resolutions. It's not a fitness one. Gave up on running. Maybe one day I'll go back. But, so my New Year's resolution is, one of them is to read 3 books. I went back to is it specific, measurable, attainable? I try to be really good about the R one, realistic. But I want to read 3 books before this coming summer. So by June 10th, I want to read 3 books. And I've picked them out. I already have the books ready to go. And I have 2 sitting on my coffee table in my living room, strategically placed right next to the TV remote. And I have the other one at my bedside table. So I see them in all that I'm doing, right? And let's just say I have a time gap. It's February 17th, and I have yet to open any of them. So like me, you may have some gaps in your life, whether it's as small as maybe not meeting your New Year's resolution, or maybe it's something even greater than that. Maybe it's a belief gap to where you are believing lies that are from the devil. You're believing things in your life that are actually not true versus what God says is true about you. Or maybe it's a values gap. You really value something. You value family, or you want to have this phone call with your sister, or reconcile with your family, but you actually haven't done anything about it. And what happens is there's a cycle of discouragement that we go through to where we feel these gaps and we don't know what to do about them. But I want to encourage you today that I found in my life, from New Year's resolutions to me after a car accident, healing in the hospital, that when I feel these gaps, when I spend time with Jesus, things tend to change. When I spend time with Jesus, things tend to change. And I think that we need to do that. We need to spend more time with Jesus, because I found this illustration that I think shows so well, again, I'm a visual learner, what that kind of looks like. And so I think a lot of times we, almost every moment of every day, feel like this person kind of on this edge of a cliff, and there's like, this is where we want to go. Sometimes we can see it, sometimes we can't even see it, because we're so blind. And then there's this gap, right? But Jesus, as we spend time with him and know his word, we're able to see what here is a cross, which I thought was cool, laid out as a bridge to get us across those gaps in our life, to fill those gaps where we are maybe unable to do. And so I want to challenge us all to, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to draw closer to Jesus? Because when you do, things tend to change. And when they do, we now see that he was always there. And he always will be. He was there yesterday, he's there today, and he will be there tomorrow to help you fill those gaps in your life. Whether you think they matter or not, they do to him. And he cares. And this is what it looks like. That cross has always been there, and it always will be. But are you willing to draw closer to him, to allow him, and step in faith across those gaps? And so going back to the lyrics, it starts off the song by saying, we want to meet with you, Lord. Lord, I want to meet with you more than Sundays. I want to know you more than my mother's faith, because that's not enough to get me through the rough. Oh, I need you more. I need a Monday morning faith. I want to hear you in more than just one way. Show your voice in all of the mundane things. You're in the in-between. You're in my everything. And that's all I really need. Are you able to believe this today? What do you need to do to be able to believe this? To where when you plant those seeds in the ground, or you have your New Year's resolutions, or you have these major gaps in your life that you had through generational curses or whatever it may be, that you don't know where to go, to wake up, like in Jeremiah, through crazy seasons and say, God, your mercies are new today. I'm so grateful. I have joy. I have breath in my lungs. Great is your faithfulness. Are you able to do that today? And it's okay if you can't. I think I look more like the guy in the fetal position than I don't. But the thing is, God, like I said before, is always there, ready to fill those gaps for you in your life. And so I can't help but challenge us today to leave us kind of with a question to answer, to where we can have a call to action, as they say in the marketing world. And the question is, how do we live the Sonshine Life? The purpose of why we're here today is because someone gave David Black a dream years ago, to where, it's a dream so big that unless God intervenes, it won't happen. And I want us to dream here at Sonshine Life. I want us here to build a community to where we can draw closer to each other when maybe we don't know where else to turn, to then draw closer to Jesus. And so, at camp, a lot of times we say, you got to find your why, and then, you got to find your people, because, if you lose your why, you lose your way. And then, you need to find your people, because your life tends to go as well as your relationships. You guys got it. But, it really matters. And the thing is, people don't always have that. They don't know what their why. They don't even know how to do that. Or they don't have people. And so the questions I have for us today is really just one, which is, how can you, and I'd like you to do this before you go to bed tonight, is answer this question. What is one thing you can do to draw closer to Jesus? And then part B is, who in your life can hold you accountable to do that? Who can you ask in your life to help you do that? Because I think God put people in our lives for a reason. And if you don't know where to go, I just want to encourage you, if you don't even know how to answer this question, or maybe you don't even know who to ask, I don't really have anyone in my life, that, I think they need the accountability, not me. I just want you to know that that's what Sonshine Life is all about. We want to be a place to where we can answer those questions. We can come alongside you in your life as you try to figure out what your faith looks like, how to fill these gaps, and then to be that person of accountability for you in love, to help you get to a place to where you can say every single morning, I don't need to be in a fetal position. I can wake up with breath in my lungs, grateful for my day, and to have joy and peace and all the fruits of the Spirit, and to say, God, I'm grateful for your mercies today, and great is your faithfulness. And so as we come to a close, we are going to sing this song, Monday Morning Faith, and I encourage you to stand and sing along, or you can sit and also just read the lyrics, and I'd encourage you to pray and ask that question. Hey, God, you know what? These are the gaps I have. Would you help me see them? Would you help me get across this bridge that I maybe haven't been able to get across my entire life? Or maybe it's just a simple, I need to read 3 books before the summer. God cares about it all. And so as we go into this song, let's continue to ask that question. What are these gaps? God, would you help me fill these gaps in my life? And then what is one thing that you want to do to draw closer to Jesus? And then part B, who is the person that you want to ask to hold you accountable? And again, if you don't know how to answer that question or who to ask, just know that here at Sonshine Life, we want to be that place for you, to answer those questions and to be that community that we so much need in this crazy, crazy world, so that we can wake up in joy every single day. Well, Heavenly Father, I just thank you for Sonshine Life. God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here tonight to launch Sonshine Life and to grow in our community as we grow closer to you. I just ask a special blessing over every single person in this room. God, whatever the gaps that they have in their life, whatever is going on to where maybe they don't know how to answer those questions of how they draw close or who are the people in their life they can turn to, that you'd reveal yourself to them in a new way tonight. God, that you'd close those gaps, those bridges that we need in our life to live a life where we can be grateful and have joy in every single moment of every day, to have the perspective to know that the breath in our lungs is a miracle and that great is your faithfulness. So God, we just thank you for tonight, Jesus. We thank you for what you're doing in and through us. And I just thank you for every single person in this room. God, would you bless them tonight? I just pray for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
And my soul sings